Welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast, your safe space to finally focus on YOU. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your self-care coach for moms, praying wife, and mom of four. And I know that being a Christ-centered mom is such a beautiful calling, but it can be so draining. That's why it's important to make sure you are filling your own cup. On this podcast, we'll discuss practical, holistic self-care strategies to help nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Because a mama who fills her own cup pours that back into her family with true peace and joy. Tune in for honest conversations about motherhood and self-care because you matter too. Blessings, mamas, and welcome to the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I'm Chari Twitty-Hawkins, your host and self-care coach for moms. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of researching your history and knowing your history as many of us celebrate Black History Month, or what I like to call African American History Month. This past Sunday, my husband and I had the pleasure to be the the master and the mistress of ceremonies for our church's Black History program. And it was super awesome. I also played a part in a play portion of the program. I played a slave, and the program was really, really good. My kids participated, so it was super awesome, just for us to, of course, be engaged and active in that program, and as well as learning history that we otherwise may not have known. It's so important for us to know. Our preacher, even before, because we had the Black History program after our church service, he talked about how it's important for our elders to share the things that they have gone through, the things that they did, the things that they overcome with us who were younger. And yes, I may be 45. Ooh, Lord. That's the first time I ever said that out loud. I may be 45, but I am younger compared to some of the other members in the church, and as well as my children, and they talked about how it's important for us to listen. That was reflected in the program where we talked about such people as Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, who I think, do some deep research and find out if I may be related to her. And if you don't know who that is, look up Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, okay? But it was, like I said, it was a great program. We did an annual award, which we call the Hidden Figure Award, that was presented. The younger kids, like my son's age, he's 10, they had like a little skit for the younger kids. It was called the Black Labor Skit. Oh, I failed to mention this year's theme was African Americans in labor. So we talked about the history of labor going back to slavery, which is why I played a part as a slave. And then they shared about Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, as well as the Black Panthers, Representative Jasmine Crockett. We were just talking about, as I said, it was the history of how we have contributed, how our people have contributed to the labor in this country. And there's so much more to be said about that. But it was really good. The skit that the kids did, it was cute. It was funny. They were like, what is labor? My mom said she was in labor 48 hours with me. Like, whoa, no, not that type of labor. It was really our workforce. And it was really awesome. So I think as far as self-care, I've talked about before, self-care is holistic. So it's knowing where you came from. And for me, that's important for many different reasons. One of the reasons is I know that helps me. Sometimes I may be feeling like I'm not good enough. But if I watch other people who I know who have overcome way more that I have gone through, especially if they look like me, if they are beautiful brown skin like me, then that gives me a sense of confidence. Like, girl, you can do this. Girl, look what they overcame. And then a lot of times they are speaking life to us. We played a video of a lady who had gone through some things and overcome. And just watching that, listening to that is like, oh, makes you feel better about yourself. Makes you feel like I can do this. Like my ancestors, my elders, those who came before me are rooting for me. So that's why it's so important to make sure you are listening to, watching, reading things about your history and the people that came before you. Even a long, long time ago, my son, I was saying how the guy who received the Hidden Figure Award for this year, I was like, oh my goodness. I said, man, we see him in church, but I was like, I didn't know he had done all those things. Like this man my goodness, I was just like, wow. So I had so much more respect for him. And when I mentioned it when we got home, my teenage son, talking about some people are just too old. I said, no, they're not too old. And he said it again. We have this thing sometimes. I don't know why. Well, he will say something. Maybe it's him acting like me. I don't know. Well, he will say something, and then I rebuttal, and then he'll say the same thing again, and then I'll say the same thing. Like that I said what I said type of situation. So he said it again. He was like, some people are just too old. I said, no, some people are not just too old. Like, yes, he's an older man, but if you were paying attention, there's so much that he has accomplished, so much he has gone through back when things were just starting to be desegregated. He was stepping up and starting to do things that other people had not done, other African Americans had not done. And that just made me respect him so much more. I was like, because I know he went through it. I know he went through it for sure. Like, boy, be quiet. Y'all know how we are as mamas. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, hush. And also, another great reason to research those who came before you and what they went through and overcame. It shows you that you can overcome too, that no matter how stressful things may seem, how you feel like, and I don't use this saying because I don't like it. How if it ain't one thing, it's another. I don't like that saying. I don't use it because, as you guys know, I'm big on the power of your tongue and the power of the words you use. But instead of thinking, oh, if it ain't one thing, it's another, look at how the people came before you overcame. Like they didn't struggle in that and it never ended. It never ended. It did end. They became better people because we decorate in the church as well for Black History Month. And somebody printed out. I was like, oh Lord, okay. Somebody printed out the sign, the water fountain sign that said whites only and coloreds only, and put it over our water fountain. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, woo, man, that took my mind back. But those are types of things that don't happen anymore because people went through, to be honest, some craziness, but they were able to overcome that and find that peace. And yes, we're still struggling. Of course, racism is not over. And if you think it is, you definitely need a wake up call. But there has been a lot of improvement, a lot. So knowing that should be able to help you to realize that no matter what you're going through, if it's as a mom, as a wife, as an activist, whatever it may be, that there is sunlight on the other side, that is not all just dark. And we know that many other people that came before us, like Martin Luther King Jr., they were Christians. They believed in God. They held on to God for strength, prayed, all of these things to help them through. So that's a reminder for us to make sure we are, as part of self-care, making sure we're being consistent about our relationship with God and leaning on Him and not trying to do it all, right? And hopefully these things will bring us joy and happiness and peace, even amidst the craziness, because peace, that inner peace, or as the scripture says, God gives us peace that man cannot give. That means that no matter what craziness, and I'm not even going to go deep into what's going on right now with the, okay, I'm not going to go here on a tangent, but as we know, I talked about this in a previous podcast, with this political climate, there's a lot of change going on. People are getting fired. There's a lot of things that are changing that we are afraid about. But just knowing that no matter what craziness you see going on, you can find peace in knowing that God has your back, that God is taking care of you. If you feel like you are just too wore out and too drained, take it to Him. Rest when you need to, but then get back up and fight for whatever it is. Like I said, it could be you just trying to get through the day as a mama, as we know it can be tough. But knowing that you can get up and fight another day, push through another day, because you have God taking care of you, because He wants the best for you, because He loves you. Just like those are the same things that the people before us, our ancestors, that's what they called on. They called on the strength of God because they were like, Lord, these people, they do not see us. They think we are animals. They think we are not worthy. But we know, Lord, that you created us in your image. that you know and you believe that we are all beautiful. We are all worthy. That's what they called on to help them. So we have to remember to do the same ourselves, even in this day and age where things may seem a lot better, and they are, but we still have a ways to go, right? We still have a ways to go, and we probably always will have a ways to go, unfortunately, but we'll see. The same way, as long as we are alive, God is working on us. That's the same way that America and other countries as well still have a ways to go. So I encourage you to make researching your family history and your cultural history a consistent part, not just in February, but a consistent part of your self-care. And be intentional about doing that. And you can do that through watching YouTube videos, watching movies, documentaries. Go on TikTok and just search. Y'all know I'm big on TikTok. Go on TikTok and just search. You can search Black history facts or different things like that. You can also be intentional about getting your family involved. There's board games you can buy. You can volunteer for different community events. There's so many different things that you can do. But I will warn you of this. Be careful of what you watch. Because if you're like me, some things will make you so angry or make you so sad to where it harms your spirit. And to where you may not be able, and this is again a part of self-care, knowing where you need to say, hey, okay, that's too much. Because there's some things I know that transpired. And I'm like, I'm not watching that movie, but I will go and I will look on Google. If I really want to know the information, I will Google it and then I'll read about it, because I'm not seeing the visuals. I'm not hearing, there's so many different things when you're watching a movie versus maybe just reading or getting a short, or I might go to TikTok and look up the movie and then watch small little clips. And then if it starts to get too much, boom, I turn it off. So just be aware of that. Make sure you're protecting your spirit and you're not getting drawn into this deep hole of sadness and anger and frustration. Now, if it's such to that it pushes you to action, then awesome. But like I said, if it's, pulling you into this hole that you have to fight to come out of mentally, then you need to be able to say, hey, I don't need to watch that. If I really want to know the information, I'll go look it up, read about it, or whatever the case may be, or ask somebody, hey, you know how you see somebody post online and then people like, hey, let me go watch it. But you already know that you need to protect your spirit from that. Just ask them, hey, what happened? So they can, because they're not going to type a whole lot online, but you get the gist of it. And you know what happened versus, that rabbit hole. Y'all know how we can go down a rabbit hole, okay? So I hope this episode helped you to really think about how am I honoring my past and my culture and my traditions through self-care by being intentional about reading, listening, watching to things that help me to feel empowered through knowing what those who came before me went through, overcame, and what they are, in a sense, are expecting of me to do as well, to pass on those traditions, the culture, things like that. So if this episode blessed you, make sure you save it, share it with the mama you love, and leave a review. Take care. Until next time, God bless. Thanks so much for joining me for the Mom Self-Care Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to make yourself a priority too. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Share this podcast with another mama you love and leave a review. Also, feel free to let me know what you would like to hear about in future episodes by visiting me on Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. Until next time, take some time to take care of YOU, because you matter too.